Lena stood backstage, heart pounding beneath her graduation gown. The roar of the stadium was distant now, muffled by the rush of blood in her ears. Her name had just been called. She stepped forward, her heels clicking against the wooden stage. Thousands of faces stared at her, proud parents, smiling classmates, flashing cameras. But her eyes scanned only one row, searching. There, seated in the far back, barely visible in the shadows, was Sophia Malik, her mother, wearing her only good scarf, hands folded nervously in her lap. Alone. A week earlier, Sophia had been standing in ankle-deep rainwater, cooking biryani under a leaking canopy. Every evening, after a 12-hour shift at the textile factory, she rolled her cart out to sell food by the bus stop. Lena remembered watching her mother squatting beside a propane stove on cold evenings, fingers stiff, trying to stir the rice without burning it. They couldn't afford an actual food truck. They couldn't afford much of anything. But somehow, across 2 decades, Sophia had paid for textbooks, school uniforms, rent, and a used laptop, all from that cart. On some nights, when Lena stayed late at the library, she'd pass by that street and see her mother fast asleep against the cart, empty pots beside her. On other nights, she'd find her scrubbing pots in silence, too tired to speak, her cracked fingers red and raw. Everyone else's mother came to Parent Day with purses and perfume. Lena's mother came with a plastic bag of samosas, smelling of onions and cardamom, always sitting quietly in the back row, never speaking unless spoken to. Lena reached the podium. The microphone squeaked. The stadium fell quiet. She looked down at her notes, then slowly folded them. "I had a speech prepared," she began, voice trembling. "But I want to talk about someone who never sat in a classroom, but taught me everything I know about strength." She paused. A ripple moved through the crowd. Her eyes locked on her mother's, who now sat frozen in disbelief, halfway through clapping. Lena took a deep breath. "My mother sold biryani on the streets of Houston, so I could stand here today. Every spoonful she served was tuition. Every night she went to bed sore and broke was so I wouldn't have to. She gave up her life, so I could find mine." Silence. Then, without warning, she pulled something from beneath her gown. A second graduation cap. Worn. A little bent, but decorated with sequins and glued letters that read, "Dr. Sophia Malik, in honorary strength. I want to give this to the woman who deserves it more than me." Gasp. Murmurs. Lena stepped down from the stage. The entire stadium rose with her. Every camera pointed as she walked across the aisle, past rows of stunned faculty and classmates, to the very back row, where Sophia now sat, with tears streaming down her cheeks, hands trembling. Lena kneeled. She placed the cap gently on her mother's head. "Today," she whispered, "you graduate too." The crowd erupted into a standing ovation, but all Lena could hear was the soft sob of the woman who had once walked through fire and biryani steam to give her daughter the world.
Sherlock so sharp and skast vi serven i det snögish. Snäck ju måste då en gästa sysch att så gills jag rememish. Så syam så röda många och har det sig och dervish. Fast jag går att nå all näck jag blir att senil. Det is he is not such. He neither on scope the yes mas. Snyak upp det ja. Så I'm safe first. Stamös with fancy. Det så wish. Mam. Stop mit filmer för det sil. Yes, nis arbsna, thus nina, osh the much owish, sich die nis hauses, scots estes and rats, nis ich for noch in this hasanil, and vi sad, du at fall. I raised the fact of the fastidious, yeah, 100 in sioba, here also I'm smam, yes, they rook at fire as the erks is listen, ach, and schnemme vanish, murm so wet, I've yours nerf of mindish, sich given their van, salk of posted in the Looks in his house, wish, nicht so skin, immersed with ness in the power gunil, through BM, send but so, the arf, the etnum like the fjall or event, mass you for this esker event, naive person, slip the etnum for, sich this whammer fun, so as now sell let's know it, swirling its gaps up so black as all, nicht ich the scancer shamol for not elsish, merged up with the neil vega first, hammers no love up, snem up, merged up no one it will. Särskilt öffning I mitt särn lamskets halpadu, as wish, shacklet in the beeping however vero, snark östet fa, over sefursch, sefuchs, the swift seat in and och eartsees if you're vet, am the haifus, the air clofen is a winnie master that, he lil up spoof, and the garden yammer shilling it, a stop in the stalking arps, and dim saw, I guess, steam at the inner amaster shaft of a girl wish. Det är från oss som det är slack innan I räkning läsna givna. Stark när det kastar upp. Stirammer en vik det hade med sågen av vågel till det låsish. Men stuan så ett. Stamjärken det diffus. Just så hanil. Snaroshnuen. En oven. Elne snitt shark. Så fax alka. Det är misen ett. Men så sab det det giffen det hållet sig först. Ska vi lä be se in. Han singer slop singerish. Stiala you så hanil så det. Siesta vet. Så höbjännen den ovina I rab mycket säppet dem. Hårs nog gulda det snäst näkt snällish. Skillingish ibsen det förs. Nät season suhin in dem arbeinas det snärjet. Så how is det happen is jan nam gups fossa. Mi zost die ramilun. Es is now such to wish. Hösten så thust to it. Hörna selfs full of sig ussedu. Grammen is valra. Ila me first.
Lena was halfway through outlining her graduation speech in the campus library when she heard laughter echo from the common room. Daniela's voice rang out, syrupy and amused. Oh my God, look at this! This is so tragic! Lena didn't look up until Daniela was suddenly standing behind her, phone screen glowing inches from her face. That's your mum, right? The video was shaky, clearly recorded from a distance. It showed Sophia hunched over her food cart outside the metro stop, folding styrofoam containers with slow, practiced hands. The caption read, "Who keeps letting curry ladies stink up our sidewalk?" The sound of fake gagging played over the clip. The person filming zoomed in as a group of college students made exaggerated coughing gestures while walking past Sophia. One boy mockingly fanned the air. Another said, "Don't catch the third world flu." Lena's stomach dropped. Over 38,000 likes. Hundreds of comments. Bro is seasoning the air. Straight out a darker street food tour. You'll be supporting immigrant hustle until it smells like feet. She didn't hear the rest. Her vision blurred. Without a word, Lena stood up, grabbed her bag, and walked out of the library, phone clenched in her fist. She took the train 2 stops downtown and sprinted the last block, praying she wasn't too late. The moment she turned the corner, she saw the cart, but no customers, no scent of rice or cardamom, just silence. Sophia was crouched behind the cart in the alley, back against the grimy brick wall, apron stained, her hands shaking. An open tray of biryani was overturned on the sidewalk, bits of rice stuck to the concrete like confetti at a ruined parade. Lena slowed. Her mother didn't notice her at first. Her face was buried in her palms. "Mama," Lena whispered. Sophia looked up. Her eyes were red. A streak of biryani sauce marked her cheek like war paint. "Someone spat," she said softly. Right in the tray. Lena knelt beside her. Sophia tried to straighten up, to reclaim some dignity, but her voice cracked. "Maybe it's time, Lena. Maybe I've embarrassed you enough already." Lena's throat tightened. Her heart pounded with 100 unspoken things. Regret, rage, helplessness. She reached for her mother's hand, still coated in turmeric. No, Mama. You've never embarrassed me. You've carried me every single day of my life. Sophia looked away, wiping her face with her sleeve. Lena held her tighter. It's my turn now. That night, Lena didn't sleep. She reread the university's code of ethics, student rights clauses, and DEI statements until the sun peeked over the skyline. By 6:43 a.m., she hit send. The email was addressed to Dean Harrelson, the president of Student Affairs, the Diversity Office, and the entire board of trustees. Subject: refusal to participate in graduation unless my mother is acknowledged. She attached screenshots of the viral video, the comments, and a detailed breakdown of the university's public promise to celebrate all forms of labor, background, and culture. She ended with, if we can applaud generational wealth and legacy donors, we can also acknowledge the woman who sold rice on sidewalks so her daughter could stand at this podium. If you choose to ignore this request, I will walk out of the ceremony and walk into every press office in Texas with my story. By 10 a.m., she had started a legal petition through the Student Advocacy Board, citing the university's own dignity clause. By noon, a small ripple had started online. Professor Rowland found her outside the law building. You stirred the pot, he said with a raised brow. And this time, it's not biryani. She smiled, exhausted but steady. I'm done hiding. And just like that, something shifted. Lena stood at the edge of the lecture hall, clutching her notes, eyes scanning the unfamiliar expressions that used to feel like classmates. Now, every whispered conversation seemed to tilt in her direction. Some turned away when she passed. Others didn't bother hiding their laughter. The petition had made waves, and not all of them kind. Guess the curry cart finally made it to the dean's inbox, someone muttered as she took her seat. In the corner of the room, Daniela smirked behind her laptop. Her voice was just loud enough to carry. She's milking her poor mom for clout now. Like, boo-hoo, we all have stories. Lena gritted her teeth, but said nothing. After class, she walked straight to Professor Rowland's office. The door was slightly ajar, the sound of jazz music spilling out softly. He looked up as she entered. I saw the footage, Lena, he said gently, and I read your email. He gestured for her to sit. She hesitated before lowering herself into the worn leather chair. They're saying I'm reckless, she said, that I'm ruining my future over a publicity stunt. You're not, he said without flinching. But I won't lie to you either. The firms you're applying to, they watch everything. This kind of noise makes partners nervous. So what do? Walk back my words and hope they forget. You keep walking forward. Just know that every step you take has a cost. Make sure it's for the right reasons. She looked at him, searching his face for some absolution. None came, only clarity. Don't do this for revenge, he added. Do it for truth. And if that truth is your mother, let it be loud. That night, at home, Sophia held a bowl of hot chai with both hands. Her eyes rimmed red. Please, she whispered in Urdu, leave this fight. You've worked too hard. You're almost there. Don't let them punish you for being my daughter. Lena kneeled beside her, placing her head on her mother's lap, just like she used to as a child when the world felt too big. You taught me to never bow, she said quietly. Not to men, not to mockery, not to fear. I won't stop now. Sophia stroked her hair in silence, tears dripping onto Lena's scalp. The next few days blurred into paperwork, late-night meetings, and classroom stares. Lena drafted legal memos and answered questions from student press. She collected over 1,400 signatures in less than 72 hours. But when the university board held their emergency meeting, no students were invited. By Friday, she got the email. Petition denied. No amendments to graduation ceremony will be considered. There was no explanation, no apology, just the seal of the institution and the cold finality of bureaucracy. Lena sat in the stairwell behind the law building, phone in hand, stomach hollow. She could hear the vibrations of another cruel rumor spreading on GroupMe. She just wanted to be the graduation speaker. What a joke. Her thumb hovered over the app icon. Then she switched to LinkedIn. Her hands trembled. She opened a new post. My name is Lena Malik. I am graduating from the University of Texas next week, top of my class in the law program. But I won't be attending the graduation ceremony, not unless the woman who made it possible is recognized. My mother, Sophia Malik, came to this country with no English, no degree, and no help. When my father died in a warehouse accident, she started selling biryani on sidewalks to keep us alive. She made $40 on good days, some days less. I did my homework beside hot stoves and oil-stained tables. I learned law while she sold lunchboxes to kids who now walk past her like she's invisible. Last week, someone recorded her and made a joke out of her labor. That video went viral. My school declined to take action, even after I submitted a legal petition under the university's own dignity clause. So I'm telling this story here because working-class families deserve more than pity. They deserve honor. And if being her daughter costs me internships, I'll still be proud. She is not a side note in my success. She is the reason for it. She hesitated, then hit post. For 5 minutes, nothing happened. Then the notifications started. Like, comment, repost, DM, another comment, another like. Within 2 hours, the post had 60,000 impressions. By the next morning, it had been shared by legal influencers, alumni, professors from other universities, even a few human rights attorneys. By noon, a local news outlet called. By evening, national ones followed. Headlines bloomed across timelines. Daughter of food vendor challenges graduation rules. University denies petition to honor immigrant mother. Student goes public. From food cart to law degree, one family's fight for dignity. A new hashtag was born. #, honor, her mother. The support was overwhelming, but so was the backlash. Comment sections split in half. Some called her brave, others called her manipulative. It's a sob story for Inter. Graduation day broke with overcast skies and the gentle hum of rain on rooftops, as if the city itself held its breath. Lena stood before her tiny mirror, adjusting her black gown over her pressed white blouse. Her cap sat awkwardly on her curls. Her tassel felt heavier than it should. She turned to Sophia, who was busy packing a tiffin box with leftover biryani, the same kind she'd sold for years. Her hands moved out of habit, slow, practiced, quiet. "You don't have to come if you're tired, Mama," Lena said gently. Sophia didn't answer right away. She looked at her daughter, her eyes carrying the weight of 20 years and the warmth of 1,000 prayers. "I will stand," she whispered, "the way you stood for me." The university grounds were a flurry of robes, camera flashes, proud families, and floral garlands. Banners waved overhead. "Class of Champions, 2025. Lena walked past clusters of graduates, laughing in groups. Some stared, some smiled with guilt, some avoided eye contact, but she didn't flinch. She gripped the folded paper in her palm like a shield. The registrar's voice crackled over the microphone, directing students into their lines. Lena checked her name tag. Then, a voice behind her. "Ms. Malik." She turned. It was the dean, flanked by 2 faculty members. His face was stiff, unreadable. "After considerable review," he began, his voice measured, "the board has agreed to allow a short speech during the closing segment of the ceremony. 60 seconds. We ask that you keep it respectful and brief." Lena nodded once. She said nothing else. As the sun broke through the clouds and students were seated in neat rows across the stadium floor, families cheered from the bleachers. Sophia sat high in the stands, out of place among tailored suits and designer scarves. Her kurta was faded, and her hijab had tiny oil stains, but her eyes glistened with pride. When the valedictorian stepped down and the dean returned to the podium, his voice boomed across the speakers. "And now, an additional address from our graduating law student, Lena Malik." Whispers stirred through the crowd. Lena stepped up, holding a small photograph in her hand. It showed her mother, younger, standing beside her cart with pots of biryani, a child version of Lena peeking from behind her legs. She lifted the mic. "This," she began, raising the photo, "is not my diploma. This is hers." The stadium hushed. "For every A I received, my mother skipped meals to pay for a textbook. For every page I read, she stood for 12 hours behind a food cart that some of you laughed at. For every scholarship I won, she walked home with blisters on her feet." The audience leaned forward. "You saw her outside campus and called her the curry lady. You made a TikTok mocking her smell, but you didn't see her stirring pots at 4 a.m., teaching herself prices in English, hiding burns with band-aids so I wouldn't worry." She paused, holding back the tremble in her voice. "I wear this gown because she never got the chance to. I speak today because she never stopped speaking blessings into my name, even when the world looked down on hers." She turned, pointing to the stands. Mama, she said, her voice cracking. Come. Sophia froze. She clutched the scarf around her shoulders as thousands of eyes turned toward her. A student usher at the end of the aisle motioned gently and slowly, hesitantly. Sophia rose. Her knees shook, her palms sweat, but she walked down the steps, onto the field, toward the stage. As she reached the stairs, Lena held out her hand, and Sophia took it like she had 1,000 times before, to cross streets, to climb buses, to carry groceries together. Together, they stood. The audience, silent at first, rose. Applause rippled across the stadium like a wave, then cheers, then whistles. Students began standing, staff members followed, professors, families. Even Daniela, somewhere in the crowd, lowered her camera and wiped her eyes. Tears streamed down cheeks of people who never knew Sophia, but suddenly understood her sacrifice. Someone shouted, "Mubarak!" from the back. On the jumbotron above, the screen showed mother and daughter side by side. The moment caught live, streamed online, and watched by millions within hours. Lena turned to her mother and whispered, just loud enough for the mic to catch, "Today, Mama, they see you." Sophia didn't speak. She simply nodded and wept, not from shame, but from finally being seen. The sun dipped low over Houston, casting a warm golden hue over the streets that once ignored Sophia Malik. But things had changed. Within 24 hours, the clip of Lena's speech exploded online. It was reposted by celebrities, activists, and news anchors alike. Headlines read, "The Biryani speech that moved a nation." Sophia's quiet dignity, standing in her flower-stained kurta with tearful pride, became an image etched into the hearts of millions. Comment sections flooded with messages. "Reminds me of my mother. We owe so much to the silent warriors who raised us. Honor the hands that fed our dreams." The next morning, Sophia's phone, once only used to take orders, wouldn't stop ringing. At first, she thought it was a scam when a sleek-sounding assistant called on behalf of culinary mogul Ethan Crowley, CEO of Crowley Kitchens, known for championing local street food legends. But it was real. They flew her out in a private car, offered her a collaboration, a mobile food truck line called Mama Malik Biryani, with her recipes, her name, and her face at the heart of it. Sophia blinked in disbelief. "I can't sign anything. I don't even know how to read half of this English," she said shyly. Lena smiled, stepping beside her. "You don't have to, Mama. That's what your lawyer daughter is for." The deal was more than a partnership. A portion of all profits would go to a scholarship fund for single immigrant mothers. Sophia's fund. It was her idea. "I want women like me to feel seen before it's too late," she said in a quiet interview, holding her scarf as she spoke. "I sold rice, but I was building dreams." Lena, meanwhile, returned to campus to clean out her dorm. Daniela was gone, and silence replaced once snide whispers. Her inbox, however, overflowed. One message stood out, from Kimbrough and Ellis, a renowned civil rights law firm based in D.C., known for their work in immigrant justice and labor rights. "We saw what you did. We believe your courage belongs in the courtroom." Lena didn't hesitate. She accepted. But the last loose thread remained, the university. In their clumsy attempt at damage control, the administration offered Lena a full scholarship to law school. It was tempting. She stared at the email for a long time, then typed back, "Only on one condition. The university must implement an official policy that acknowledges and honors the contributions of blue-collar, immigrant, and first-generation families in supporting student success." The board deliberated, negotiated, stalled, but the world was watching now. They agreed. The new policy, named the Sophia Clause, was unveiled that fall. It included a formal ceremony segment for family acknowledgement during graduations, a scholarship essay option titled "Who Carried You?", a food vendor spotlight at student events, and an annual lecture on dignity in labor, led by students from marginalized backgrounds. Months later, on the first day of law school, Lena walked into orientation with her mother beside her. She no longer hid her story. She wore it like armor. And Sophia, she no longer sold biryani from a shaky cart on the sidewalk. Now, she stood behind a polished stainless steel counter on wheels, wrapped in a branded apron that read, "Mama Malik, from the heart for the heart." Lines wrapped around the block, but no one spat in her food again. 1 year later, the streets of Houston buzzed with life, but on one corner, a line wrapped down the block, snaking toward a sleek, vibrant food truck emblazoned with warm colors and bold lettering. Mama Malik Biryani, from the heart, for the heart. Inside, Sophia moved with ease and confidence. Her hands, once blistered and trembling, now stirred with pride. She greeted each customer with her soft smile, her eyes brighter than ever. People didn't just come for the food, they came for her. A familiar face appeared at the side window. Lena, dressed in a tailored navy blue suit, a leather briefcase slung casually over her shoulder. Her eyes lit up as she spotted her mother behind the steam. Sophia grinned. "Counselor Malik, you're late for your lunch again." Lena laughed. "I'm never too late for biryani." Moments later, they sat together on the curb, two women who had been through fire and come out radiant. They ate side by side, sharing quiet bites of saffron rice and soft chicken, their joy needing no words. A little girl from the line hesitated nearby, wide-eyed. She clutched her mother's hand, then pointed at Lena. "Are you that girl from the graduation speech?" Lena glanced at Sophia and smiled. "No," she said softly. "I'm the daughter of the woman who sold biryani so I could dream." The girl's eyes widened, then she ran back to the truck, her laughter light. Lena looked at her mother, who reached out and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her daughter's ear, the same way she had done when Lena studied by candlelight years ago. They clinked their soda cans together like a silent toast. Cut to black. Narration. Lena's voice. "She gave me everything. That day, I gave her back the world." Hi besties, thank you so much for watching to the end. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe.